So right now I was supposed to be fast asleep at my Airbnb in Boston. Instead, here I am, sat in a Heathrow driverless pod, on my way to the airport at 4 in the morning, because my flight was cancelled yesterday and I've been rebooked onto one that leaves at 7 in the morning. So, yeah, it's going to be a long travel day, especially since I've been rebooked onto a connecting flight instead of a direct one like I booked. Wish me luck. So after my first flight, I then had a 5-hour layover in Munich airport before I could finally take my connecting flight to Boston. And this was not enough time to really go into Munich and do anything, but also Munich airport had absolutely nothing to do, so it was quite a dull layover, and I was a bit further bummed out to realise that I was going to be in an aisle seat, but at this point I was just glad to finally be getting on board a flight that would finally get me to Boston. Finally, one day later than planned, I finally made it to Boston, though I can't really complain too much because thankfully BA did make it relatively straightforward in booking a replacement flight, and thankfully due to the delay they did give me a large compensation. But enough about my flight cancellation misadventure. Let's get on to what we're actually all here for: Boston. And so for my first full day in Boston, the very first thing I did was head straight to see USS Constitution. Now, if you know anything about me from my videos, you know that I'm a major history buff, and USS Constitution is something I've been wanting to do for a long time. Constitution herself was actually the oldest commissioned warship within the US Navy. She was launched all the way back in 1797. And as far as I can tell, she's in fact the oldest ship in general in the world that is still afloat to this day. And funnily enough, she's actually the only commissioned vessel currently in the US Navy that has actually sunk an enemy ship in combat, and that was all the way back in the War of 1812. So here you can see a few of Constitution's replica 24-pounder guns. Now keep a note of these because you will hear about these again a little bit later in the video. Being a still commissioned warship, Constitution is actually manned by active duty US Navy personnel, and most of them are actually really happy to chat with you about the history of the ship. And one of them told me that the reason the ship's replica guns have the crest of King George III on them is due to a research error that was made prior to them being cast. These stairs are steep, and they're very narrow too. In HMS Victory they're a lot wider, so they're a bit easier to climb up, but these ones are very difficult. So I made my way back up onto Constitution's top deck, and that's when I spotted the smallest active duty ship in the US Navy. I mean, just look at this thing! If a warship can ever be considered cute, this is it. So, That is USS Constitution done. Now I was tempted to go in its museum first, which is just over there, but I thought since I'm down here, I'll go ahead and go on the USS Cass and Young instead. I'm pretty excited to go on this ship as well because it's not as well known as USS Constitution, but it's a Fletcher class ship itself, and I'm pretty interested in the Fletcher class because another one of them, the USS Johnston, is a pretty famous ship, and I've read a lot about that and its actions in the Battle of Samar, so I'm pretty interested to see a Fletcher class destroyer and know exactly what it was like on board that ship and what it did. But of course, that's not in any way to try and distract from the USS Cass and Young itself, because this ship was apparently hit by 2 separate kamikazes, so like even this ship has a lot of history to learn about, so I really can't wait to get on board. Unlike the Constitution, USS Cass and Young is actually owned and operated by the US National Park Service. And this felt a bit funny when I went on board because the guys there were all guys dressed in National Park Ranger outfits and with the ranger hats. It was quite a funny sight because of course in most media you see guys with those hats in wide open natural areas, so seeing one aboard a warship like this was certainly a sight I wasn't expecting to see. I was just exploring the ship itself, but on your own you can only access the main deck. But if you want to go and look at other bits of the ship, you have to take a tour, which I did, and that was really interesting because a guide took us down into like the mess halls, the sleeping quarters, and then he took us up to the bridge, so it was really cool to see where the ship was commanded from. And the most interesting bit is he actually let us sit on one of the anti-aircraft guns, and we got to manually crank it to turn it and raise the elevation of the gun as well. So that was pretty cool, just sitting there feeling the gun turn beneath me as I cranked the lever to make the elevation go up and down. But it makes you think just how much manual work they had to do. Well, in this case it was only when the electrics went off, but when that happened it makes you think just how much manual labour all these sailors had to go through on a daily basis. But yeah, although this ship is often overshadowed by the USS Constitution next door, it's also worth a visit if you're here, because it is really, really interesting. I mean, I really liked it on there. It's just as good as Constitution. But again, not to say anything bad about Constitution, so there's just 2 brilliant ships here to see at the end of the day, so definitely worth a visit if you're in Boston. After I was done exploring the Navy Yard, I took a ferry down to Rose Wharf where I was planning to catch a Boston Harbour cruise. I had originally booked this cruise for 2 days previously, but due to my flight being rebooked, of course that wouldn't have worked. But thankfully I was able to reschedule the cruise for today, and honestly I'm kind of glad I did, because the weather could not have been more perfect. I actually spotted a former Nantucket lightship, which served to mark the position of dangerous shoals around Nantucket Island and help ships navigate around them safely. This specific ship was built in 1936 as a replacement to the previous lightship, which was sunk by RMS Olympic, the sister ship of Titanic. Remember how I said earlier to keep a note of some of Constitution's guns? Well, they're about to feature in one of the most exciting parts of this cruise.
It was like delayed. I saw it and then I heard it. I think so. I like zoomed in.
So the Sunset Cruise is all done now, and between doing that and exploring USS Constitution, USS Cassing Young, and also exploring the Constitution Museum, I've honestly had a really good day. It was really exciting to just see some more history stuff, because I've done a number of museum ships from the UK, like HMS Victory. I mean, I know that really, really well, but to do one over here and just see that, you know, that I've heard so much about the ship before and see it in person has been really good. So honestly, today's been really good. But I have to head to bed early now because tomorrow is a really, really early start, but I am really looking forward to it.
The next day I was on a day trip which took us up to rural New Hampshire to see the autumn colours in White Mountains National Forest, but I'm saving that for a different video where I'm going to go for all of my day trips outside of Boston itself, so stay tuned for that. Anyways, back to Boston.
So I'm currently at the top of the View Boston building, which is atop the Prudential Center shopping mall, and honestly, I mean, it's really cool up here. You've got so basically panorama views of all of Boston, and one thing I noticed is that even though we're in the middle of downtown Boston, I mean technically the downtown district's over that way, but we're close enough, is that you can really see just all the different autumn colours on the trees from here. Like, it's just crazy to think that we're in the heart of one of the biggest cities in America, and you can still see so much greenery here and all the amazing fall colours, as they call, well, fall foliage as they call it. So Okay, so I don't know how well you can see this on camera, but just over there by where the cruise ships are moored, I can see what looks very much like the USS Constitution, seemingly being towed out of the inner Boston Harbour. Like, I know it's closed today because today's a Monday, and they always say the USS Constitution's closed on a Monday. Well, so I'm surprised to see it. If that is it, I'm surprised to see it over there. Normally I thought they'd leave it by its moorings at all times. So I looked it up, and it turns out that today is actually the 227th birthday for the USS Constitution. So that's why she's currently out there. Again, I don't know how well you can see it with my GoPro zoom, because today's her birthday. They've sailed her out to Fort Independence off Castle Island, and she's actually just fired a gun salute from there. Again, I don't know how well you can see this on camera, but I can just see smoke emanating from where she is, so evidently she's just started firing her gun salute by the fort. And here, just across the Charles River, we've got the city of Cambridge. And it's funny because it's closer to Boston than some parts of what's considered actual Boston, but that's the way it is. But here you can see just there, that's MIT, and then up there somewhere, that is Harvard, and somewhere in the middle, that's where I'm staying. So now I am 1 floor below where I was, and I'm on the outside section. It's a lot quieter down here. Well, quieter in terms of guests. I mean, from here though you can hear all the city noises that you couldn't on the floor above, so I'm not being literal when I say the word quieter there. Oh wow. That is the end of my time up here at View Boston. Now I'm heading back down and heading over to Faneuil Hall Marketplace and the north end of Boston. I was supposed to have done this on my first day here, but obviously because my flight was pushed by a day, I haven't been able to do that yet, so I'm doing that today now. Otherwise I would have gone and been doing some more stuff around in this area. But still, I'm really excited to go into the north end, and especially Faneuil Hall, and maybe buy myself some souvenirs, so here we go. So Faneuil Hall was quite interesting. I went and got a few souvenirs there to take home, but I didn't really spend too long there. It was nice, but I think I just was able to see everything pretty quickly, and there weren't too many stalls that I particularly wanted to do there. So now I'm currently heading over to North End, or Little Italy, depending on whichever you want to call it. I'm going to get some pizza there because I met someone on the first day of the trip and they did recommend getting pizza there, so I'm definitely going to try that out. But right at this moment I'm just chilling in this really nice park here, and again, as you can see, we've got some really nice autumn leaf colours here as well. So yeah, honestly, it's been a really nice day.
The North End is one of Boston's oldest neighbourhoods, and it has loads of really old buildings, and some of them even date back as far as the American Revolution. Here I am at the Old North Church, which is over 300 years old, and it played an important part in the start of Paul Revere's Midnight Ride back in 1775. Part of the area became known as Little Italy during the late 1800s and early 1900s, as it became home to many, many Italian immigrants, and large Italian American communities grew up here. And here is my dinner, a pizza from the heart of Little Italy, and yes, it was delicious.
So I'm currently now just chilling on Boston Common. It's very busy this time of day, but it's also really nice. I've just come from doing a quick walk around Beacon Hill, and I've also spent most of this afternoon though up in North End of Boston. Now initially I was planning to do these things separate days, you know, Beacon Hill, Boston Common, and then a different day for North End. But the only issue is obviously because of missing my flight, it cancelling a day out. I kind of had to make today a mishmash of different things, because I started over there with the View Boston, and all the way up north into North End Boston, and then now I am back down here at, well, closer to the Prudential Centre again, because I really wanted to see North Boston, so I made that a priority after the View Boston thing. But thankfully I got to see Beacon Hill as well. But yeah, so the rest of the day is just going to be me relaxing really, because tomorrow I'm off to Salem, which I'm also really excited for, so I will see you tomorrow. So today is my final day here in the United States. My flight leaves at 7 PM this evening, but before that I've got a whale watching tour to go on, so here we go.
The whale watching tour that I booked was with New England Aquarium. The tour itself is between 3 and 4 hours, and it's about 45-50 minutes to get to the marine sanctuary where you see the whales, and then of course 50 minutes back. But this 50 minutes went by really quickly, and it was honestly quite enjoyable just watching the ocean go by. And it wasn't long before the ship arrived at the marine sanctuary, and not long after that is when we got our first sighting. Of course, there was a slight downside that half the time I was looking over people's shoulders to see the whales. But frankly, this wasn't that big of a deal because you could still get a really good view of them, and it's just because this tour is so popular that so many people want to go and see them. And just like that, the last pair of whales dived down below, and it was time for the boat to make its way back to Boston, and that in turn marked the end of my time here.
So the whale watching tour is all done now. I saw a total of 5 different humpback whales, and there are a few porpoises that we could briefly see while we were coming back. So that was really good, but now that that's over, I've got just under an hour left now till I've got to go and collect my luggage, and then it's off to the airport. So that sadly does mean that my time here in Boston is over, which I'm pretty bummed about, honestly, but I mean, it has been a really good trip, despite all the stuff at the start that went wrong and missing an entire day from the trip. But once I finally got here and got to actually start enjoying Boston and the surrounding areas, I've generally really loved it here. I mean, the environment right now, it's time in autumn with all the beautiful autumn colours, and it's still really, really warm, so it's just been a great time of year to come here, and honestly I am just really happy with my time on this trip. And if you have made it to this far in the video and put up with me for this long, I do just want to say thank you for that. And if you do ever think about coming to Boston, I can definitely say you should, because it is a really amazing place here.